Welcome back to Living with a Classic, and if you're new to my channel, I hope you stick around and consider subscribing, putting new videos every week so there's always something new to watch here on the channel. Today's video, I thought we'd have a look at my 1991 Daimler XJ40, same as a basically Jag XJ40, just with some extra trim on it, and it almost passed its MOT or yearly inspection about a month ago, but there were two small things I need to fix and have a month to fix them. So I want to fix them in today's video. Then we'll take out the car probably the day after if everything goes well, go for an MOT and see if it passes. And if it does, the really nice thing is now at 30 years old, it means I only have to test it every 2 years where I live. So I really hope it does pass. So I'll pull in the car in the workshop and then we'll have a look at those two issues and a few more things from the last video on this car when it broke down on me on the highway. Of the two failures, I'm going to start by trying to fix the Parker light up front, because if I can't get that fixed at the moment, there's no point in doing anything else at the moment. I've disconnected the battery, and in the previous videos, if you haven't seen, checked everything. There is really no voltage going out here, but the indicators work and everything else works. The bulb is fine. These XJ40s have a weird thing. They have one of these modules in each corner controlling the lights, and they're prone to bad solder joints inside and components breaking. This is supposed to be a good used one which should fit my car, because they're all different depending on if you have square headlights, if you have the quad lights, if you have automatic daytime running lights like I do, and lots of other things. But these should be from a Swedish car with automatic daytime running lights, 1990. This is a 91, so hopefully that's fine. And this box is plastic, so I believe it doesn't get the ground from there. It gets it from here, I believe. And I will get a little light for you guys to see where it sits. So there, this is the box right there. I'm going to leave the old one in place for now. Just disconnect all the connectors. So it's that big yellow one. There's a black one down there. The ground seems like it goes, I'm not exactly sure, up front there somewhere. I'll see when I disconnect it. And then there is this connector here for the headlight, which sits behind here. So I will start by disconnecting all of this. We'll hook this back up, then I'll turn the camera back on because you don't need to see me unhooking and hooking cables. Then we'll hook the battery back up and let's see if everything works. The other bulb failure module is now disconnected, and this one is connected. The ground, forgot about it, it's down there. So you see that little 13mm bolt there. I'll also clean up the area a bit, but if this seems to work, I will open up again and put some dielectric grease on it. So that will continue to have a good connection. I have connected up the battery again. So let's see if this little light here will actually light up. I don't have the keys on me, so I won't get the headlights, I think. But I think I should be able to get Parker's to work, so let's see. You guys will know before me. Alright, this side's still working, and yes, we have a Parker there. So just for fun, I'll put on the hazards. I don't think that the turn signals work without a key. I'm a little bit too lazy to go inside right now, but we'll put on the hazards and see that the indicator still works on all sides. Alright, that's still working, so that's perfect. That's really great news. So it was, as I thought, just a failure in the bulb failure module, because I tested basically everything else, and these are prone to failing. Thankfully, I was able to get hold of the spare one. I will mount that in here now. Just remove the old one, put the new one in, and I think just for fun, we'll open up the old one to see what it looks like inside. And maybe in a future video I'll attempt to repair it. Maybe it's just a dry solder joint or something, but we'll fit this one that works to the car now. So that's all of that sorted. So I will just replace this, put everything back together, and then we can move on to the steering gator, which I believe is on, it's on this side, I believe. Got the good used bulb failure module all in place, and all the wiring is under here. End up removing this relay, these bunch of relays, just a plate for it to the side, because the cables for this go underneath the other ones, just not damage anything. It's all together and working. I also do have the battery on the charge. I've talked that a few times, but I keep forgetting. So now it's finally on the charge. Sat so long on the highway with lights and hazards on that, and since then I've only moved it short distances really. So on a proper charge, I have jacked the car up, put on a jack stand just this side, and here is that steering gator. As you see, it is, it's completely ruined. I will be removing, get that off, but in order to get that off, of course you need to remove tie rod end. So doesn't look that rusty and that bad, but I will be spraying everything a little bit now and waiting a couple of minutes, and then I will also go in here and I'll show you guys. We'll measure it, and then I'm also going to count the turns when I unscrew this to try and get all the geometry back. Haven't had this car for an alignment, something I may do in the future, but seems to be tracking as it should, so we'll put everything back the same way we got it off. I'm going to really try my best to film this for you guys, even though it's very, very tight with the camera. But tie rod ends there's nothing really difficult about them. However, they can sometimes be difficult to get off. Don't know about this one. The only thing I've done is I've made sure I can get that nut loose, and I have loosened that one a bit. When I did, this whole shaft turned, which actually I prefer, because that means that this is basically a locking nut to lock all this together. This shaft will turn in there if you wanted to, and that makes it just easier to get it back, because then I really just have to count the turns here. But there are a few other ways you can measure, total distance. But one way that I like to do it, which I'm trying to show here on camera, if it's even going to be possible, let's get some calipers. And I'm going to try to find basically right the first thread there, get it caliper stuck in there, and then go against, you see it's difficult to show on camera, but a little bit more. First thread to that nut there. Let's see what that says. That is 18.5 millimeters. So I'm going to remember that. I'm just going to lay the caliper to the side. Now, I will loosen that nut over there. Appears to be 19. And yeah, this just looks really odd. It's just because I'm really trying to film this for you guys, but it also means that the camera is exactly where I want to be. Don't undo it all the way. Just, so there's a couple threads left on it, and then after that there are a few different ways that you can get these off. So you don't want to hit straight down here and damage it. One of the tricks is to hit it with two hammers at the same time on here, kind of hard, and then this usually pops down. Fortunately, the camera's in the way for that, so I will move the camera, hit this a couple times with a hammer, and it will pop down. If you first don't succeed, then try again, and if you don't succeed, try with heat. So this thing was pretty much stuck on there, so I just used a really great little tool. Let's use a tiny, basically little burner. Just uses, I think it's butane gas. And it's enough to get these sort of small things apart. You can get them, anywhere very cheap. I do have bigger acetylene torches, but that's enough. I was just very careful not to heat here. It's just heated here. Then I hit it with some penetrating fluid right in between there. And 2 more whacks of the hammer. And it basically came off. So I think I will put on the glove, because it's probably still pretty hot. See if I can get that nut off now. And there we go. All out. And as you can see, it is now rotating freely. So that's where it was making contact. So now I'm going to try and count the turns, but get on a glove on the other hand so I can hold on to this underneath the camera. It's very, very awkward, but it's all for you guys. So let's see. A half. 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5. I'm just wiggling it, make sure it's not about to fall off. 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5, 10, 10.5, 11, 11.5, 12. This is very long. 12.5, 13. It's about there. 13.5, 14, 14.5, 15, 15.5, 16. So yeah, 16.25 maybe. We'll write that down as well. Now ready to try and get, move the camera a bit. There we go. Ready to try and get this off. Seems to have a sort of a rubber locking thing on there. One in there as well. Not going to really get that on camera. See, I'm a little bit out of focus. There we go. Hopefully you guys can see now. Not really going to get that easily with the camera here, but I'll take this off, show what it looks like, and then we'll put on a new one. I got both clamps off. Here's the small one up front. Just pry that apart and it will click back together again. Use a screwdriver in the back just to pry that off. Now I have measured this distance as well. You might think it's a lot of things to measure, but just making sure it's just a lot easier in case you mess something up later. So I have measured that, and it is pretty much bang on 29, 30 millimeters. Now I need to screw that nut off, and I need something to hold this still, so I'm gonna get some vice grips and do that. There we go. Now that's moving pretty nicely. Once again, it's really tight here with the camera, but I want to show you guys. It's also a pretty good dirt mark to go by, but it's always good to measure. I'll pull off this piece first. So that was just a zip tie in there. Sometimes there's a clamp on some cars, sometimes there's a zip tie. I'll put a zip tie again. You see that there's been, a little bit of leakage in there, but it's not completely filled and it's not running on the floor, so I'm pretty okay with that right now. Maybe, some dirt and grime's gotten in here and ruined it, but that will be a future thing. So now I'm just going to dry off here. I mean, there's grease and stuff in here, but some of it is a little bit dirty. I'm just going to clean off this area a little bit. Clean up around there. Be careful not to get any of that dirt in the steering rack. And then it's just a matter of sliding a new boot on, putting the clamps on, putting everything back together, counting the turns again, putting the nut on first, of course, measuring that. And then this should all be, ready to go. And just a few minutes later, we have a new one in place, so no splits in it. I reused that clamp, just really cool, push it together. And I actually put 2 zip ties in there, just so, I don't know, it felt like there was enough space for it, so I did that. And all back together. It was, it fit perfectly, all the measurements are correct, the turns and everything was 16.25. That worked, tightened everything down. So now I'm ready to put the wheel back on and pretty much ready to go to the MOT station. Wheel is on again, car is back on the ground. Before I go to the MOT station tomorrow, I want to just talk about one thing from the previous video where this thing broke down. And I heard a lot of comments, I haven't gotten to them all yet. And I did mention clearly in the video, but somehow it didn't really come across that, no, I haven't tested everything yet. I'm still hurting a lot from the leg. I just wanted to do an update video of really what happened and also why I had to cancel the live stream and all of those things. My main suspect is most likely water in the tank, or, which thing maybe could have been ice as well because it was cold outside, or the fuel pump relay. I opened up the fuel pump relay and it looks pretty much brand new inside. Of course, some of the windings could be damaged, but it's not burnt. It's nothing like that at all. Looks very nice. I'm gonna put the cover back on, put that back in the car. However, I have made a little jumper cable I'll keep in the glove box, so if this happens, I can jump the relay and see if the pump runs or not. Had a lot of questions about ignition as well. I did mention in the video, I don't think it's anything to do with ignition because the tach stayed on. Usually when you have ignition issues, you see the tach flickering. Nothing like that happened. It was a steady tach signal the whole time. It was just thump and dead. And yes, it did not start up right away, but after quite a bit of cranking, it would sort of basically almost idle. And then I really just gave up because it was dark. There was a lot of traffic, and I called for a tow truck. So maybe I don't know if the tow truck driver cranked the car a lot to get it off the trailer or anything, but it did crank for a little bit when I came home, and then it ran sort of okay. Now it's running pretty nicely, but just for you guys, here is a look inside. It's all brand new. I haven't wiped this off or anything. There is not a hint of any corrosion anywhere, not a hint of any condensation. Everything looks really nice. So I'm going to put all this back together, and then tomorrow, during my lunch break, I'll go to the MOT station, and I'll let you guys know afterwards. But fingers crossed, it all passes this time. I'm back home a little while later. It's been a nice drive, sunroof open, but I've just been concentrating on the car. The downside that I wasn't filming is that I missed something on camera that you guys would probably enjoy. If you don't know, I live pretty much next to the Koenigsegg factory, and from now and then you see pre-production cars sort of masked, so you can not really supposed to see what they are. If you see them out on the road, they don't have any license plates or anything. So I just passed one of those, or it passed me, going pretty quickly, and that would have been fun to catch on camera. But maybe some other time, I'll be lucky enough to have the cameras rolling when one of the Koenigsegg cars are behind. My wife did get a photo of one a couple years ago when we were at the gas station, or a year or so ago, but you see them every now and then. It's kind of fun. But back to the Daimler here, it passed. So everything, all the fixes were happy. The bulb failure module was the issue, so the bulb is fine now. The steering gear stayed on there, so all of that seems to be fine. However, some small announcements about this car, but don't worry, I'm not selling or anything. But I don't think I'm going to be using it that much over the next couple of weeks or probably a couple of months. I love it, and that is why I'm putting it away for a little bit. I want to fix a few things. I do think the fuel issue is actually fixed. I do think it was most likely water, but I am keeping some spares with me, a spare relay and some other things, just to be sure. But after this little drive now, it's back to running smoothly and idling smoothly. So I think that the water treatment I put in a week ago has helped. I haven't gotten gas or anything. I wanted to run it pretty low and then fill up with complete fresh gas, another water treatment. So next drive or so I will fill up the tank, but I'll probably put this thing to the side for a little bit. It's MOT'd for 2 years now, so that's really why I wanted to do this. So it's ready to go on the road. But the reasons are, I only have the studded winter tires on here. You can only drive with those for another week or so, and then they're not legal again until next winter. I don't have the new summer tires for this car, and there's a few cars that need new tires. The Range Rover needs new summer tires in a couple of weeks, and that is the main family car. I will be driving the XJ6, and that has great tires. The XJ12, which I really want to get out on the road this year because I didn't drive it anything last year, well, that thing needs new tires as well, because I sold the wheels and tires off that car, and it's actually right now sitting on the Daimler summer wheels, which have terrible tires on. So it's a lot of tires, and I think that the Daimler XJ40 is the car is going to get new tires last. So can't really buy tires for 3 cars in 1 month. But while this thing is waiting on that, I'm going to restore the wheels, have them look real nice. I'm going to replace the headliner. I think I really want to do that. I'm going to order a new one. I'm also going to do everything that I just basically wanted to do before putting this thing back into service. So doing all the hoses up front. We're going to do all the fuel hoses and probably the fuel pressure regulator. Just everything is new. And then depending on how much I can save up, I want to do some of the body work this year as well, because it does let down the car when you come up closer to it, seeing the little bit of rust in the fenders and the rear wheel arches. But I want to get that sorted and painted. So that's why I think that even if I do love this car and I love driving it, we'll drive it for a couple of more days. Then I'll give it a really deep clean, and I'll put it to the side and basically bring it out in case there is some extreme ice, because then you still have use these tires in case. Actually, you can use them in the summer in case you have an ice storm. Then it's legal to use them if it's winter conditions, it's called.
but otherwise it's not legal in 2 weeks or so, I believe. But the XJ6 is going to get a lot of love and attention in the next couple of videos. So as you know, a new interior, and I'm looking forward to share that with you guys. Anyways, I hope that you liked this video, and if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help out a lot. Give this video a thumbs up and a comment down below, and let me know what you think of the XJ40 after using a bit, and if you're looking forward to any of the videos of replacing headliners and such things. So until next time, I'm Adam, and this was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.